Hello everyone, great to have you back with us. In today's test, we'll be looking at a new compact saw for branches and small logs, specifically in the 12-volt format. We're talking about the Milwaukee M12 FHS, which boasts an impressive blade length of 150 millimeters, a 12-volt drive, and weighs only 2.2 kilograms. We'll be finding out together if it lives up to its promises and who would benefit from this investment. So let's get started right after the intro. But if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel for free and activate the bell icon to not miss any new videos in the future. You can find the latest prices of this saw in the video description below. Thank you for your help, and let's get started. A cordless chainsaw weighing only 2.2 kilograms with a 150 millimeter blade and powered by a 12-volt battery. That's what the new Milwaukee MH12 FHS promises. In my opinion, this sounds very interesting, and I'm curious about what we can expect from this tool. As you can see, the product box, typical of Milwaukee, is entirely red. On the front, there's a large image with the product name, and on the right-hand side, you can see further specifications. Now, let's take a look at what's inside the box. First, we have a large stack of paper consisting of the user manual and warranty conditions. Additionally, we get a small bottle of chain oil, a total of 76 milliliters. And last but not least, we have the cordless chainsaw itself. That's all there is to it. There are no other accessories included. This is the solo version, so you'll need to purchase the battery and charger separately. I'll provide links to those in the video description below. So that's the unboxing. Now, let's take a closer look at the chainsaw itself. Regarding the first impression, it's not as small as I imagined it would be, especially for a 12-volt device. So I took some measurements, and without the protective cap, it measures a total length of 420 millimeters without the battery. As for the weight, the solo version weighs 1,800 grams, plus a 12-volt 6 ampere hour battery, which brings the gross weight to 2,200 grams. Overall, in my opinion, 2.2 kilograms, including a 6 ampere hour battery, is not too heavy. However, I was a bit surprised because for a 12-volt device, I expected it to be lighter. It's definitely not the smallest or the lightest. For example, compared to the 18-volt device from Makita, which I also tested, the video is in the upper right-hand corner of the info card, that device, even with a 5 ampere hour battery, is still lighter than the 12-volt device. Nevertheless, with 2.2 kilograms, this saw is not uncomfortable to hold, which is also due to the ergonomic handle. The handle is quite large, as we've come to expect from a Milwaukee, because the battery slot is also located there. This means that the 12-volt battery that we need here is inserted from the back of the machine. The battery snaps in very well and ensures that the handle is slightly larger in circumference. In terms of handling, it feels very ergonomic to me. The handle is fully rubberized and has a corresponding texture. This ensures that the saw can be guided and held more securely. In addition, the trigger and release are very easily accessible from here. Furthermore, there's a second handle on top of the housing. This makes it possible to hold and guide the saw much better. The Milwaukee M12 FHS also has a lot to offer in terms of safety. Since this is a pruning saw that's intended for cutting bushes and trees, it has two protective covers, which is a positive feature. The first one is located on the underside of the main handle, as you can see. It's very nice and wide. If I go further into the undergrowth with the chainsaw, I don't have to worry about anything getting injured by protruding branches and the like. The protective cover on the underside also serves as a suspension for the chainsaw. There is a small recess through which we can hang the device on the wall. On the left side, there's also a small key that we need to change the chain. I find this very positive. The Milwaukee M12 FHS does not have a quick release mechanism or similar on the right side, but rather a typical nut and a corresponding hex key with which we can tension or change the chain. Directly below that is the mounted sword and included chain. We have a total length of an impressive 150 millimeters here, which is more than impressive for a 12-volt device. In addition, the chain is already mounted, which is also included in the delivery. We have a total of 33 chain links and a guide bar width of 1.1 millimeters, which is typical for such a compact device. The chain is not tensioned by an automatic tensioner or the like in this model, but we have a small adjusting screw with a slot recess. As you can see, the whole thing is marked again. Here's the screw to tension the chain, marked with a plus and a minus. Fortunately, it's not necessary to manually lubricate the chain here. Otherwise, we'd have to drip the oil onto the chain. Instead, as you can see on the other side, we have an integrated chain oil tank. On the front, there's milky plastic, so we can see directly how much oil is still in the tank. The Milwaukee M12 FHS has a total volume of 50 milliliters here. In my opinion, this is enough to perform several cuts without refueling. And as I said, there's also a small bottle of chain oil included in the standard scope of delivery with 76 milliliters. Let's come to the most important point, namely the performance. Let's take a look at what this small chainsaw really has to offer in terms of performance. To mention first, this is a powerful fuel tool from Milwaukee. The saw is equipped with an efficient and powerful brushless motor, which is located up here in the housing. With the large 6 ampere-hour battery, I tested the chainsaw on various objects. I started with the typical use case for a chainsaw, single-handed cutting of branches and bushes. This means that branches from 20 to a maximum of 55 millimeters were no real problem for the saw. In my opinion, the device is not too heavy at 2.2 kilograms for single-handed cutting. Of course, it could be lighter in the long run, but I have to say the weight does not have a negative impact in my opinion. The saw is not really impressed by branches up to 50 millimeters. This means that this branch thickness is not a problem for the saw. I also tested the saw for maximum performance. When a 150 millimeter blade is mounted on the front, it's expected that the saw can handle it easily. That's why I tested the saw on significantly thicker branches, starting with a trunk of 95 millimeters in diameter, on which I made several cuts. The saw was able to cut this trunk easily, as well as the 130 millimeter trunk. However, it should be remembered that it's a battery-powered device and also a 12-volt device. This means that with such large branches, the overload protection occurs more frequently than one might think. This means that you should not apply too much pressure to the saw. As soon as you put a little finger on it, the overload protection comes on. The saw can definitely handle the branch thickness of 150 millimeters, but in conjunction with the chain speed of 5 meters per second and the 12-volt battery, it eventually runs out of steam. I also tested the chainsaw on some construction wood, 80 by 100 millimeters. Again, no problems. However, you have to be careful with the performance. In the end, it can be said that the Milwaukee M12 FHS performed very well. However, it cannot be compared with an 18-volt device in any way. Regarding performance, the saw is designed to operate the entire blade with an impressive 150 millimeters without any difficulties. However, I would not recommend cutting regularly such large branches since it takes a while due to the relatively low chain speed of 5 meters per second, or the overload protection comes on regularly. I would recommend only cutting small branches up to 80 millimeters. After all, it's a small 12-volt device. The handling is also worth mentioning positively. In my opinion, the saw is not too heavy. Due to the two handles, it's very comfortable to handle and guide during branch cutting. My recommendation is definitely for anyone looking for a small, compact saw. What do you think of this little saw from Milwaukee? Feel free to share your opinion or experience in the comments below. I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback. That's it for this short video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated on future videos. You can find the current prices in the video description below. Thank you for your support. And with that, I'll say goodbye and see you next time. Goodbye.